What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Fantasy Football Game Show presented by Front Yard Fantasy. I'm your host, Simon, joined as always by my beautiful co-hosts, Josh and John Luke. What's up, guys?
What up?
Dale, were you snapping? Was that the worst Johnny Manziel money fingers I've ever seen? Or was that like the Dr. Zoidberg? Like, whoop, 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 whoop,
it was that third one.
Okay, I figured that's what it was. It's because of all the Futurama I've been watching recently.
Yeah,
right?
I was going to say, you nailed that. You nailed that sound. My God.
Guys, it is Mock Draft Monday, and joining us for our mock draft today is special guest Cal. If you guys do not know Cal already, he is on Twitter at Calvin and Hobby. He's a writer and videographer over at DLF Football, and he's got a new series out he was telling us a little bit about before this. I believe 2 episodes out already called Dynasty Refinery. Cal, thank you so much for coming on with us today, my man.
Man, I so appreciate it. This is now my 3rd time. Do I get like something special for being on for the 3rd time on the show?
Check your fax machine later. Josh will send you some cold.
Send you his underwear.
Yep. And then once you hit 10 times, you don't even want to know what you get then.
You get a 6-month discount to Josh's OnlyFans at 10 times.
Oh, absolutely.
I've seen there's been some shirtless shows here recently, so I'm hoping we all stay close.
You never know. You never know,
low
Cal.
Price,
you know,
$10K a month. You can be part of Josh's OnlyFans community.
We get a little weird. We get a little weird around here. Like I always say, go to heaven for the climate, hell for the company.
You do always say that. That is true.
Yeah, you've said that every day I've ever talked to you. You've said those words to me, Josh, without a doubt.
Now, Cal, was it tough to wood burn the giant DLF logo behind you on your own wall?
Yes, it was very very difficult work, but yes, I am known to work with my hands very well.
Do you have like just like a prod that has the LLF on it already? Like
no, that's hand burned.
No.
That is
Oh,
hand
that with his hand.
Oh, wow.
None of this is real. This is a green screen.
Wow.
This is
impressive.
Those boards are either very massive or you are very tiny. I can't tell.
Sequoia redwood boards.
If I had the ability to do that, that would be awesome. I would love that.
Either way, you look good, Cal. You look good. Like that's all.
When Leanne and I were in Oaxaca City, we did like a wood engraving class. And oh my God, I've never been worse at anything else in my life.
Oh, we need
like,
pictures.
All these people around me were like doing like these delicate, intricate designs. And I would go try to do a delicate line and scoop like a chunk out of mine. Like, oh, well, guess that's now a leaf over there. Just like.
Was that the most stressful part of Squid Games for you when they had to go through and.
honey.
Yeah.
Confession. I never finished Squid Games. I watched the first 3 episodes and then didn't finish it. I need to go.
More than that.
I need to go back and finish.
Who are you guys? I thought you guys
hooked.
were cool, but
I probably got distracted by like.
You just gotta lick the cookie. Remember that.
Lick the cookie.
Everyone remember Josh's advice. Lick the cookie. We got Scott. We got Scott Fish in here saying, "Tell JL I'm not ignoring his messages."
I don't believe you.
Hey JL, Scott is ignoring your messages, and this is just a cover up.
There were like 3 different times today where I was like, "Oh, I should tell Scott Fish this thing," and I'm like, "No, I've already sent him 3 messages, and he hasn't messaged me back. I can't do that."
Yeah, is that his way of saying he is ignoring my messages? So
I think so. Yeah.
And Craig wants to know, Scott, why won't you Cal JL back? Playing up our guest in the first comment.
There.
What's up, Dave? Welcome in. Glad to have you here. And JL, did you block Dave again from our chat?
I always block Dave.
God,
get him out of here.
No Canadians except for Sully.
And Craig in here, just being the nicest human on earth, offering a spot to Dave in the draft. But we get to kick Craig's ass in the draft today, it looks like. Kaysen in here, what's up? I know it's been a couple Mondays since we've had you in here. Glad to have you here, Kaysen. J-Wall saying dreams. Dreams indeed, J-Wall.
Just in general. Dreams.
He's getting less and less motivated, I can tell. He's like, at first he was like, oh, yeah, follow your dreams.
Follow your dreams. Now it's just dreams, guys.
Dreams, whatever, guys. I don't know. It's Monday.
What's up, Albert? Welcome in. Glad to have you here. And Kev, bird up indeed. Remind me to share with you a picture of Eric Andre I got right before this. Jason Simon, that was a fantastic Zoidberg impression. Thank you. I've been practicing.
Good. That was good.
I can't watch any more of this or I'm gonna cry. Like it's just like so stressful.
Yes, there's that.
I understand that. Yeah, you got to break it up.
Mm-hmm.
Man, Walking Dead. I watched season 1 and then I just never watched another episode. I don't know why that show didn't hook me, but I had friends who were so into it.
It didn't hook me either.
Jordan also in here says, "Are they lagging out or is my internet connection?" It looks like lagging and frozen for a lot of people. So guys. Hopefully that resolves itself throughout the draft, but we'll keep on drafting. And Jordan said we're back. So we're good to go.
We're back, baby.
Guys, before we get started with our mock draft today, a couple reminders. Number one, if you are not already following our guest Cal on Twitter, go and do it right now at Calvin and Hobby. Right there below his handsome face on the screen. So make sure you guys are following him on Twitter. Then if you're watching this, that means you are already on our YouTube or Twitch channels. Maybe not Twitch, because I think Twitch was having an outage earlier. But you're definitely on YouTube.
Kevin said bird up.
Oh, you're right.
From
Kevin's
Twitch.
back.
Let's go.
Twitch is JL fixed Twitch. Good job, JL.
Yeah, you fixed it.
But guys, if you're on our Twitch channel, hit that follow button. If you're on our YouTube channel, go ahead and smash that like button on this video. And don't forget to subscribe to us at Front Yard Fantasy. It's the easiest way to support what we're doing. And you can make sure you never miss another one of these episodes again. Guys, like I mentioned at the beginning, JL is going to be hosting this draft for us today. He's going to be commentating on it as we go through it. Before we get started, I just want to remind, he's going to sit there silently and awkwardly at the bottom as the
He said he was going to work, remember?
Yeah.
Yep.
He was going to get some work done.
He's got some multiplication tables to go through, if I remember correctly. Guys, today we are doing a Superflex Dynasty Startup Draft. For those of you that are unfamiliar with Superflex, what that means is there's an additional flex spot where you can also start a quarterback. So this is not quite 2 QB, but more often than not, it ends up being 2 quarterback. You more times than not want to start a second quarterback in that flex spot, but you do have the freedom to plug a different position player in there. The rest of the roster is pretty standard: 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, a super flex, and then we're only doing 4 bench today. So we are only going to do 4 bench because we have a limited amount of time here. Are you guys ready to begin this draft?
Oh, I'm ready.
Let's see who everyone's drafting first. So,
by the way,
Josh,
Cal, you're at 10. Yeah, go ahead.
It looked like the stream cut out for a short amount of time, but I think we're back. So I don't know how you get this message.
Back. Yeah, in
so
the chat it says we're back. So hopefully we're good to go. But I'm drafting from the 5. Josh is drafting from the 7, and Cal, you are drafting down there at the 10 spot. Any reason you picked that spot, or you just
based on what I think might happen here? I am interested in the players that will be there.
After your pick, you can tell us a little bit why you
Cal, I'm going to be completely honest, and I hope I don't ruin anything for you. I kind of think there's like a tier of 9 players in Dynasty, in my opinion. And if you can grab one of those 9, in my opinion, then I think that's just such a great start. If one of them is able to fall there, and we'll see what happens, Cal. We'll see what happens.
Just to reiterate, that's in his opinion.
In my opinion, I think there's a tier of about 9 guys, and we could go over that in a little bit. I don't want to give anything away.
Love it.
It is not tight end premium. I see some people in the chats asking, right? Not tight end premium.
Not tight end premium.
Awesome.
And Dynasty, you're plain old vanilla Dynasty Superflex.
Dynasty Superflex.
And I think it was half point PPR, if I remember correctly.
So Sleeper, whenever you're setting the ADP, you can pick Dynasty half PPR, Dynasty PPR, Dynasty 2 QB. So we are using, okay. Well, I guess my hand was kind of forced here. That is not the player I thought I was going to get at 5. It's not how I usually draft. And
it's not updating on our screen.
There are some really interesting things already happening here.
JL. In order for it to update on our screen, I just need to go back to the window. It's not an issue with StreamYard or anything. It's just I need to switch tabs. But I like looking at your faces, so I keep coming back over here.
Stop.
Man, I did not. Jonathan Taylor has recently become the consensus 101 in all Dynasty formats, Superflex, non-Superflex.
And I completely disagree, just so you know.
I wouldn't have him at 1. I didn't think I was going to get him here at 5. I assumed I would get one of the 2 quarterbacks or 2 wide receivers that I wanted. I assumed I would either get Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Ja'Marr Chase, Justin Jefferson. I almost went Jefferson anyways here, but decided, this is a mock. I very rarely go running back early, especially not in the first round of a Dynasty startup. So let's try it out. Let's see how this team
But if
looks.
you're going to go running back early, that's a good one to go with.
Exactly.
You got 23 years old at this point. Like you got a lot of years left in front of you with him. That's great pick.
In terms of running backs, he's in his own tier.
Yeah.
I think so too. No, I can't think of another running back that I'm even in consideration for as that top Dynasty running back.
I couldn't agree more. I really couldn't agree more.
I'm a little surprised to see Chase go at 3, although Swamp Nola definitely must have been a Chase fan.
Can you blame him? You blame him? Like the hype is there. I wouldn't be picking him there either. But you remember, I mentioned these top 9 guys. Then I was hoping that one of them might slip to you there. All 9 of them went Cal.
Maybe there's a guy he was looking at.
So this is all right. So this is really interesting, and this is about the way I thought this would fall. So other than like, I wasn't really expecting Jonathan Taylor to go this early. So I'm definitely thinking quarterback here. Like, I don't think you have to go quarterback in two different spots or two straight spots, but I do think, in this type of format, like you said, you want to have at least two. So I better have a really good one. I'm going to go with a guy that has gotten some bad publicity here, but I'm going to go Trevor Lawrence.
He's going with Trevor Lawrence.
Because
I want to hear about this.
Every single marker that we look at in Dynasty and analytics and all those things, like we want like what he is. Now, I know the first year didn't go the exact way that we wanted it to go, but there are outliers in terms of coaches who have a negative impact on a player's performance. And I believe that Urban Meyer is one of those. I think so much of what we saw last year can be to some degree thrown out. And when you look at everything else that you see in Trevor Lawrence, I expect for him to be with this being a Dynasty Superflex mock, all the guys that you guys took in front of him, I would take in front of him too. But this is the point right here where I think he's the best of the remaining bunch, and I feel the safest with.
I'm with you. Totally fine. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
I was say I'm with you, Cal. We talked about it a bunch of times over the last probably couple months between three of us in our various shows. I'm with you completely. I think to try and extrapolate and say Trevor, like this is on Trevor Lawrence, this indicates that Trevor Lawrence isn't as talented as we might have thought, I think is unfair. Mostly because he's coming, like I think it's discounting the effect that the environment and the system is going to have around a young player like this. Specifically, a rookie player is coming in to one of the worst rosters, one of the worst franchises in recent history. And so like, it can't all be on Trevor Lawrence's shoulders. Now, maybe, pulling back on that value, that hype on Trevor Lawrence is still appropriate. Maybe it is a valid correction. But I think I think it'd be a mistake to say he's not going to be able to return that value going forward.
Yeah, I've got no issue with him as a first round pick. And the point you brought up about Urban Meyer, I think is a great one. I think like when Trevor Lawrence came out, he's got those intangibles that you talked about, like that are, I know people yell at you when you use the word, but he's been labeled, like not me, but he's been labeled as generational since he was in high school, right? Like this is a kid where those intangibles have been present, maybe so much so that people were willing to kind of ignore the flaws in his game in college. He had very clear flaws that became more apparent the later he got in college, like as there was more tape on him, staring down receivers, things like that. And I don't think Urban Meyer did him any favors in that regard, coaching those things out of him. And I think maybe him coming from college last from a program like Ohio State, where his quarterbacks and wide receivers usually outmatch opposing defenses like they do, which is the same thing Trevor Lawrence had in college, not having to go through his reads, was really detrimental to his development in year one. Like not good.
There's a couple comments here about, waiting until the second round to take him.
I wanted to ask you about this, Cal. Like, what was like going through your mind when you took Trevor Lawrence in the first? Were you concerned that he might get taken on that pick? Like,
and would you have taken CeeDee Lamb above those guys anyway? The guys that went, all right. I think you could have.
I feel better about CeeDee Lamb falling to where I took him. Knowing that was something I wanted to get a high end wide receiver now if Ja'Marr Chase had fallen to 10. Or Justin Jefferson had fallen to 10, I would have taken them. But I think there's a teardrop from there. But I like to walk away with a quarterback and a wide receiver in my first two picks. Two positions that I feel really comfortable. I'm going to get production for a number of years there. And actually, according to DLF Superflex ADP, Trevor Lawrence goes 13. So I could have taken...
So not much of a reach at all, yeah.
Yeah, so I could have taken a chance. I can get him later. But that's a mistake that I think we make a lot of times in Dynasty. We're like, oh, look at the ADP. I can get him later. But ADP, especially right now, if you're doing a startup, ADP means nothing. Like you can't assume you're going to get somebody later. If you like somebody and you believe in them, you need to go ahead and take them when you have the chance.
Yeah, the variance is going to be much higher at this time in the season.
And I'm with you, with the strategy of which one to go first. Even if CeeDee Lamb got drafted, maybe you already said this while I was drafting, but Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, AJ Brown, all those guys they're just sitting there. Like that's okay. Trevor Lawrence gets drafted. I don't know. I think it's a pretty big drop off to the next guy for me.
Yep.
I'm taking Dak Prescott ahead of Trevor Lawrence personally, and I got him in the second round, and I am absolutely thrilled.
I didn't even see Dak Prescott on the board. That's a great pick, Josh.
I think there's top 6 quarterbacks. Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, you can maybe consider them a tier. You could separate that tier even more. You can break that up. But I think they're like all going to be first round quarterbacks in every league you see. And then, in my opinion, Dak is next. And he's kind of almost in his own tier. That's just my opinion. And then there's like a larger tier where Trevor Lawrence falls in, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Jalen Hurts. That's just my opinion, though. So, but I love getting Dak Prescott here. Getting Dak Prescott in the middle of the second, pair him with Lamar Jackson. Now I'm going to just hammer. I'm going to not worry about quarterback and hammer the rest of my team. I feel very good about this.
I love that. I feel like I've been higher on Dak Prescott than the consensus. Definitely over this past season, but I'm glad to see him get some respect here. I agree with you, Josh. I think I would take Trevor Lawrence over Dak Prescott, but they're back to back. It's that close, and I would definitely take Dak Prescott over both Jalen Hurts, Trey Lance, and Justin Fields. That's like a big tier for me with Trevor Lawrence at the top.
Gotcha.
Kyle, would you take Dak over Hurts and Lance and Fields, or where do you have him in that mix?
Yeah, pulling up my rankings right now because I think that is a really interesting. I think that really is I can't remember which way I fell on this. Okay, so yeah, I have Dak actually behind all those. I have him behind Trey Lance. I have him behind Justin Fields, and I have him behind Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts is the one that would be the most controversial, I know. But my thing is about Jalen Hurts. I think if you look at the amount of teams in the NFL who have their quarterback, and it's like decided, you would be surprised how many where you look and if you ask the question, does this team have its quarterback of the future? You'd be surprised how many times the answer is no.
Yeah.
And I think Jalen Hurts showed at least enough where he's going to have a job for the next few years. I don't care if you consider him a good quarterback or not. I have my own, thoughts about like how we are measuring quarterbacks. I think we probably need to update that in the same way baseball went from looking at average to OPS, like it was a little bit more advanced version. I think there's something we need to do in quarterbacks for that, for NFL play. But in fantasy, as long as he's got a job, he's already proven he's going to be a top option.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I think Jalen Hurts is going to be a very interesting. Like it's going to be very interesting to see the progression of his value over the next 2 years. I think the two year mark here is what I'm going to be looking at specifically for Hurts. I think this next year is going to be definitely a make it or break it type of season for him. I don't know if I could take him that high. I don't know if I'd be comfortable taking him in the middle of the second round just because of that risk. But I mean, he played well enough, especially for fantasy purposes. He played well enough this past season.
For fantasy, and also like his team was actually top 5 in third down conversions. They were top 10 in red zone conversions. Like, so yes, a lot of the numbers didn't necessarily look traditionally great, but that doesn't mean he was a bad NFL quarterback. His team actually, those are where I want to do good. I want a quarterback that's going to help me in third downs and in the red zone.
Right.
And he did good there.
Right.
We have the rookies in here, guys, by the way. We have the rookies.
I saw him. It's our first mock draft with the rookies added. This is fun.
Yeah, that surprised me.
Simon, you like half committed to or no, you didn't. You went opposite of what you normally do.
Yeah.
A double running back.
Yeah, I never do this.
You do not.
How are you feeling about it?
Uncomfortable. Give me a couple more rounds to let you know how I feel about how my team comes together. I can't even remember the last time I drafted a Dynasty startup, even in a mock format like this. So it's good practice for me. But the board fell with JT first overall, and so I think it sets me up to kind of create this like running backs are the star of the show, which lends itself to creating a team that is looking to compete immediately year one, right? Like if I'm going to build around these running backs, I should maybe be less concerned with age of my other players and go for that title shot in the first couple years instead of trying to build for the future. So because the running backs have a shorter shelf life, kind of like Cal mentioned earlier, quarterback and wide receiver. If that's the base you're building around, you're building a pretty steady foundation for the next 4, 5, 6 years probably. But if you build around running backs, you don't have that same level of security.
I feel like that is, in my experience, that's also been like overblown in reality. Like I feel like when I started playing Dynasty, I expected running backs to be like have way more volatility around their value, but this top tier of running backs, they hold their value really well. Yes, it is shorter than wide receivers, but like
we see guys like
when did you first join a Dynasty league?
Todd Gurley.
Tell me those fast. Running backs Melvin that you Gordon,
drafted. So
none of them are there.
Lev Bell gone.
But
also when we first
started,
Odell Beckham was the number one receiver probably.
But
Antonio Brown.
I say when we get down to the older wide receivers, like when it comes down to it, people are still going to draft 30-year-old wide receivers and 29-year-old receivers. They're not going to do it that with running back.
Yeah. If you get Jalen Waddle at the age of 22, however old he is, there's a chance, say this Dynasty League goes on, that you've got a superstar wide receiver on your team for 8 years. If you get Jonathan Taylor at 22, that's not possible. And so because of that, like, even if you don't have him for 8 years, the perceived value of a running back tends to decline quicker because, like, they're going to hit that ceiling. We see it with Derrick Henry over and over and over again. He's been at the top of his game for years in a row now, but his value's been declining in Dynasty.
Yeah,
because of the age and the wear and tear.
So Albert's in here asking, what do y'all think about the Doug Peterson hire? Doug Peterson hired as the Jaguars head coach. How do you guys feel about that?
Simon, update to the draft board. Yep.
For Trevor Lawrence, I am actually not upset about it. I think it's definitely an upgrade from Urban Meyer. So I don't know. Outside of that, though, I don't have too many strong opinions. I think it's a fine hire. I prefer left with it. What do you think?
I think he's really where he always followed Urban Meyer. Now he's great at picking jobs.
Yeah. Also, what's up, Jay? Welcome and glad to have you from 20 minutes ago. But we'll pretend like they're right in time, JR.
Yeah, it'll be very confusing. But we're gonna love it. Scott Fish said QB should only be measured by neck girth and hand size. Everything else is just noise. True.
You combine the two measurements into one, like his neck girth plus hand size.
165. Damn, 165, bro. That's
you don't give units.
No. Everybody knows the scale.
Everybody knows the scale.
Dave in here saying Russ at 302 is a steal. Just trying to see if that was his team.
I thought Russell Wilson was off the board, but if he was still there whenever I took Devontae Adams, I probably would have gone with Russ, and then heavily considered another quarterback at that spot.
Alex in here saying, how are we feeling about Kamara? Worth a 2023 first? There was a report came out in the last day or so that Alvin Kamara is dealing with some legal issues in Las Vegas. So I don't know many details about that, but I'm sure that is affecting his value. How are you guys feeling about Kamara going forward? A lot of changes in his situation. No Sean Payton anymore. How you guys feeling about him for Dynasty?
I feel worse than I did 24 hours ago. That's for sure. But I feel like he's getting to the point where, I'm starting to consider taking a first, he probably was worth 2 firsts prior to, depending on Superflex or 1 QB, he probably was worth 2 firsts before that report. Now,
really,
I don't know.
So you feel like this is pretty detrimental to his value?
He's already getting to the point where he's never going to have the same trade value going forward as he does right now. Like, it's only a declining amount as far as his value from here forward. So it's the time where you want to get out, but so he's already a tough sell in Dynasty. Like, if you have it in a Dynasty League and you're trying to sell him, somebody's going to be hesitant to buy him from you anyway. And then and then you have to add the report in yesterday. And I think people are going to be pretty scared. This is definitely not the time to sell him unless you can get that first. In which case I probably would cash out.
So you're taking a 2023 first straight up.
Right now today, yes. But that speaks a lot to my thoughts in terms of running backs in general, I guess, in the first place. Like, I mean, I'm 4 picks in. I haven't touched one here in a startup. So I'm almost always going to be willing to trade those, especially for, potentially really good draft picks. But this is he says offer to buy as a 2023 first. Especially if I think there's a chance that's going to be high, then yes, I'm definitely doing it.
I don't think I'm comfortable enough with that yet. I don't think that I'm worried that the news, if the news is affecting his value that much, I have a feel like usually we see that value tend to bounce back at least somewhat, maybe not the full amount, depending on as we get more details, but I would just hate to panic sell. And at 2023 first, you're waiting another year for that to pay off. And I feel like Kamara is still, he's like on that precipice of where no one's going to want him anymore, but I still feel like he has a lot of value to give.
My other thing, Jail, on this front is even though he's got a lot of value to give, I think already we're seeing this 2023 class hyped up so much that like the perceived trade value of that 2023 first may be worth more. Even if you don't value it that much, you might be able to get more than Kamara back for that in 6 months, 8 months as the 2023 draft approaches. Like, so that's something else to consider. Like, even though you may not value that pick similar to Alvin Kamara, I think market value for those 2023 first, especially the early ones, is going to be Alvin Kamara plus. Come time for it.
Yeah, just one thing real quick on that. Like, if you looked at it, there is no chance that the 2023 first between now and that draft is going to lose value. Zero chance. There's a lot of chance that Alvin Kamara is going to lose value between now and then. So
yeah, that's a good point.
Especially with the report yesterday. So just in terms of like building in that, at some point there's safety in that in the way that I would build my roster. And Alvin Kamara is a player that I'd be looking to sell anyway. Now, that doesn't mean his production might not be good. Production and value are not really the same thing. But so his production could still be good this year, but his value is never going to be the same.
Right. I feel you on that.
These rookies in here are a lot higher on the list than I would ever feel comfortable drafting most of them. And Brady said, are we drafting rookies? Yeah, they're in there. Draft them. We're drafting rookies. So go ahead. I said it to all players. If we weren't drafting rookies, I would set it to vets and free agents only. So we'll do some drafts like that as well.
Now I will say why I agree. Like, this is a little higher than I feel comfortable drafting them just as names. By the time they're on teams, they're going to be drafted in this in this range. I'm sure some of them above where we're drafting right here, but not knowing where they're landing, it's kind of tough.
Right. Yeah.
Especially mixed in with
risk.
The vets. Like, I always end up whenever they do the drafts where the rookies are mixed in or you're drafting kickers for picks. I always end up
that's a little bit different. The kickers for picks, they're more valuable. You get to wait,
right.
Push ahead.
Either way, I end up with way fewer picks than if it's done like where you just have two different drafts, because I never know how to properly value them properly. And I have a hard time picking a pick over, say, like Amari Cooper. Know what I mean? Like, at that point, I'm like, I'll just take Amari Cooper or Mike Evans or one of those guys. Oh man.
And Alex clarifying here that he is trying. He's on the buying of the Kamara side. He has the first in this scenario. So then
it sounds like this guy is trying to do a rebuild. The other guy, because the first thing you have to do on a rebuild is get your first back, because then you're going to sell off everyone and you're going to have a really high pick because you're trying to lose more or less. So it sounds like that guy's trying to rebuild. I think a 2023 first is fair for Alvin Kamara at this point. And I know we're saying his value is not going to rise necessarily, but it can rise from this point, right? If these legal troubles are dropped, he goes back to where he was a week ago.
2 firsts, right? Yeah.
Maybe I don't know if I could pay 2 firsts for him, but more than a first,
yeah,
yes.
Just going off what Cal had said, yeah.
Peaked in high school, Alex. If you have a team that's ready to win next year, I'm completely fine with that trade. Completely.
Yeah. Z2 in here saying, wow, haven't done one of these in a while. Welcome in, Z2. We missed
What's
you.
up, Z2?
Yeah, Z2.
We're sick of that Z1 guy. He's been hanging out here. Glad you're in here instead.
That's great. Dave saying, so JL pronounces it Jaguars. How are you supposed to say it?
Jaguar?
Jaguar. What am I, freaking
Jaguar.
New Orleans widower?
You can say the R. You don't have to leave
Jaguars.
Jaguar.
Jaguar.
I don't know what to take here, guys.
JL also says Clemson with a P and a Z.
I do not. That's a lie.
That's like a
Herb Street.
Does he do the P or the Z? Does he do Clemson or does he do Clemson?
He hated Clemson. I think it was Clemson.
No, he loves Clemson.
Now he does.
His kids go there.
Now they do. Not when we were there. They did. He didn't.
Oh, I always remember him.
Jerry's saying, are we officially worried Watson doesn't return? Because I would draft him ahead of Russell and Stafford. I think he'll return. I don't know when, but I think he'll return.
It could be another year.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's a chance he's in a jail cell. I'm serious. Like there's a chance. So we don't know if he's going to return.
I'll let someone else take the risk. Is my where he's being drafted. I'm not comfortable taking that risk in a dynasty startup, so I'll just let someone else do it. I have no idea what's going to happen here. I try not to speculate. What we know doesn't look good, and so I'm just hands off until
now at the 310. That's where I'm willing to take the risk.
I would give me a guy like look at all the guys drafted around him. A guaranteed Alvin Kamara, T. Higgins, Jalen Waddle over a maybe Deshaun. I don't know. Cal, what do you
said?
think?
I don't think you should use Alvin Kamara's name there.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. Cam Akers. I'll say Cam Akers instead.
And I am the one that drafted him there. So like I'll say like for me, if he plays, he is in the same tier with Mahomes and Allen and those guys. Like he's young. He's still like 27 years old, 26 years old.
I'll put him next to Burrow personally if he played.
And so to your point, like, yes, he could be arrested, but the more time that goes on where that doesn't happen, to me, the less likely that becomes.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think in the third round, a guy that can give me first round value, that is where the risk becomes. It's all like a risk. You know, that's always what you're trying to do in Dynasty, right? You're trying to weigh out what those risks are. Yeah.
Right.
And for me, that one is worth the investment.
Oh God, I was just looking at Gary's team. What and like he's gotten some value. Travis Kelce in the 4th, Saquon in the 5th, like Tyreek Hill at the end of the 2nd. Oh man,
that's a good team.
JL, I always name my rival after you in Pokemon when I get to name it. That way I get to beat you up.
Yeah, Simon and Brilliant Diamond was a little bitch. But I guess so was JL because it's the same.
I was gonna say, well, at least it was accurate.
Yeah. I guess we froze again. I don't know what's going on. Apologies for that. Might be a StreamYard thing. It looks like we're okay now, but
looks like it.
Apologies.
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
And Faji in here saying, "Hey guys, sorry I've been busy. Sorry I've been busy. Hope missed all the fun. You did not miss all the fun. Welcome in, Faji.
You just missed some of the fun. We never run out of fun over here. At least I hope not. It'll be a really sad day if we log on and we've depleted our fun reservoirs.
Oh man,
Josh with a no fun mandate.
No fun.
What else do
Trading
you have,
makes
Josh?
Fantasy normal.
Josh, you said you tried to make a serious face. I don't even know if you realize this. Go back. You said no fun.
No fun.
And then you smiled.
Yeah. Can't help himself.
Couldn't even hold it in. Elijah Mitchell. That value on George Kittle is a little bit nuts to me. I almost went him instead of Terry McLaurin right there. That's the decision I was making, Cal.
Yeah, and you know he's 29, so I feel like at tight end we still have a few years left where I can consider him an elite option. And when he plays, like he absolutely always is an elite tight end. Like, as good as Mark Andrews was for a stretch this year, when Kittle was on the field, he did a lot of those same things. So I was actually hoping Andrews would fall to me there in the 3rd round because I would have taken Andrews over Watson. I think he is a difference maker. But I don't think Kittle is that bad of a rebound there to get him in the 5th round, especially.
Yeah. And then I saw you had Elijah Mitchell as your first running back. So this is about the range I usually grab my first running back, especially in these Superflex leagues. Are you comfortable with Elijah Mitchell as your first running back? Do you expect him to keep that starting job?
I do. So I'm going against my, if anybody watched the Dynasty Refinery I did with Matt Waldman, who everybody knows he's a pretty big Trey Sermon fan. You know, he still thinks that Trey Sermon's the better running back. But Elijah Mitchell has been a great fit for Kyle Shanahan and for that offense. And, you know, he's done nothing but show that he's really good at utilizing a player like him that has speed, who could. The only question is, we saw him miss some time with injuries. Is that going to be something that we see that's, you know, that happens a lot in the future? Or is that something that's going to be, you know, if he's on the field, he's going to be the running back. Don't buy into that Kyle Shanahan is so unpredictable. It's not true. Go back and look at the game logs. He's had some unlucky things with injuries, things like that. But as soon as the injured player comes back, he immediately gets his job back. Kyle Shanahan is not pulling a name out of a hat to figure out who his running back is. He actually is very predictable with that. If you go back,
I used to be guilty of pushing that narrative. And then I remember you put out a tweet showing the data, if I remember correctly. I think it was you put out a tweet saying what you're saying here and pulling the receipts too and saying, go look at the game logs. I just poured through all the data. And I stopped pushing that narrative after that. You're 100% right. It made me a lot more comfortable in Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah. And Addison did a really good video on the DLF channel as well, breaking that down.
So go follow Cal if you want the hot takes on Elijah Mitchell. Saved my ass from making that mistake over and over again. Now I can wait another round to draft a running back instead of having to take Jacobs in the 5th.
You should go only running back. You should try
anything that can allow me to draft a running back later and later is my favorite kind of take. Like any data you can produce that tells me why the 6th round back is a great pick, I'm gonna be really happy to hear.
Confirmation bias at its finest.
100% confirmation bias. Fantasy football is the game of biases that we try to eliminate.
It really
do a poor job of doing.
No, we bring them up in conversations a lot, but don't actually do anything about it.
And then continue to have the same biases over and over and over again.
I love the different strategies. Like this, like to me, like drafts are so much fun, right? Like I love doing these kind of drafts and just seeing the different strategy. And like Dr. Disrespect having 5 running backs and 1 wide receiver. That is a fascinating way to start your build in a Superflex league. And then J-Wall not having a quarterback at all. He's
just an
idiot. That's gutsy.
Yeah, he's just stupid. But the rest of it is interesting as well.
No, but I mean, win that, like, are you just like to go very far in that under 1,000 thing that Jeff Lampert has? Everybody go vote for J-Wall.
Go. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
The under 1,000 followers thing.
Vote for J-Wall and maybe he'll draft a quarterback. That's the trade-off, I think. For every 100 votes he gets, he'll draft a quarterback.
Brady's saying, I've been pouring over running back film, and Kenneth Walker is my guy. Josh,
he's really good.
You drafted your first rookie here in the 6th round. How do you feel about that pick? What went into that? I know we were just discussing earlier in this draft how difficult it is to kind of figure out where these guys are going to go. What made him more appealing than, the guys who went after him, Mike Evans, Amari Cooper?
I think Isaiah Spiller's kind of got like that prototypical size that you want in your running back. I think he's got everything you really want in a running back, more or less. I think you can kind of compare him to Bryce Hall a lot. While Kenneth Walker is a little bit different than the two, but when it comes down to it, I think that worst case scenario, all 3 of these running backs are probably 2nd round picks. And I think we've seen what 2nd round rookie running backs have been able to do, especially the last few years. And I'm pretty high on all 3 of these guys. I'm willing to take the value on the last one that fell, and that's kind of what I did here. I could see anyone getting drafted ahead of the other one. Like I said, I think they're all going to be, mid-round 2nd pick. So, whatever team they land on, they're going to get their opportunity with that kind of draft capital, and I think they're going to be good producers in the NFL.
How do you weigh that decision, especially before they're on a team? Like, how are you thinking about this? Because there's, what's your level of confidence that Isaiah Spiller isn't going to go to a situation that's going to, not be conducive to his success, or that, you might not turn out to be as productive in the NFL?
Yes, thank you.
I think that's a good question because I think you could kind of compare it to Javonte Williams, where Javonte Williams get drafted in this draft, the high 2nd round in this mock draft we're doing here. Javonte Williams was the 2nd round pick last year. He was behind Melvin Gordon coming into the year and just impressed people. So I think regardless of, even if Javonte Williams' season was still good, it was a very good season, but he kind of was disappointing, right? So even if this guy has a disappointing season, his value can still rise, like regardless. Maybe not rise, like it can't be a disappointing season, but when I just look at, I'm on the clock, but when I look at the other people available, I just think that's the right pick when it comes down to it. I got sniped, but okay, I got sniped the last 2 picks. I was going to take T.J. Hawkinson.
Dale, I wanted to revisit your question you asked me after the first 3 rounds.
Okay.
I'm starting to really like my team. I was very uncomfortable after those first couple rounds, but the way this is shaping up,
Moore got picked 2.
I'm loving it. I've got 2 of my top 10 quarterbacks. Like I've got 2 at number 9. I know I'm higher on Tua than most people in Dynasty.
I'm with you on that.
But I've got 2 at 9, Aaron Rodgers at 8. So 2 of my top 10 quarterbacks, 2 top 5 of my Dynasty running backs, and Jonathan Taylor and Austin Eckler. And then 3 of my top 7 Dynasty wide receivers as well. And I know, again, I'm higher on Terry McLaurin than most. Sorry, 2 of my top 7 plus Mike Evans. I'm not crazy. Mike Evans isn't up there, but then Mike Evans still like a top 20 Dynasty wide receiver as well as my wide receiver 3. I'm thrilled with this start, which I was very uncomfortable just because it's something I don't usually draft. I don't draft like this very often.
Yeah, that's what mock drafts are for, right? That's why we do it all off season. You brought up Tua and saying that you're higher on Tua than most people. I find myself in that same boat. I believe in Tua's talent. How do you feel about the new head coach hire, Mike McDaniels? How is that going to affect Tua's success in the system that he's planning to bring?
I'm not too worried about its impact on the system right there. I think Flores was a great coach for Tua. I liked it there. I liked the success that we saw from him. So I'm hoping at worst this is a lateral move, but Obviously, they brought him in for a reason. I think Tua is the quarterback there of the future. I know there were questions about that this past season, but I buy into the talent. I buy in that this is a good hire. If we're being honest, I don't know too much about how like the offensive philosophy is going to impact Tua's fantasy output, but and to be completely dishonest, Tua is going to be the number 1 quarterback for the next 7 years. But if we're being completely honest, I have no idea. I expect his talent to be able to shine regardless of which offensive staff is in there.
Bingo. Love will find a way, right? Jurassic Park. Who's the guy? The doctor. Love finds a way. Yeah. Which that's exactly
what is his name?
JL mentioned. Drafting right now with rookies and how you take into account you don't know where they're going to be. You really need to look at the talent anyway. Like again, if they're talented and if they get drafted behind Dalvin Cook, they'll find a way. Like it'll find a way to work out where they're going to produce. If they're good NFL players, they're going to get on the field, and it's going to be fine. I would suggest doing something like if you're doing a startup, have something like kickers take the place of these rookies. Like set it up. Like Sleeper has a function where you can take all of the rookies out of the draft. And then just do kickers, and that way you're drafting spots in your draft. So you would get the 2022-01 if you take the first one, and so forth. I suggest doing it that way because I do want to know where they go.
Yeah, I did that. It was like the first league that's ever done that that I played in was last season. It was a startup in the off season last year. I liked it, but it was tough. It was tough because it felt like those picks went really early, a lot earlier than I expected. And it was definitely hard to gauge. So I love that advice. I think that's a crucial, if you're planning to do a startup dynasty league this offseason and your league has a setup similar to that, or even if you're going to do like a startup where you have the rookies involved like this in the draft, you're not doing a separate rookie draft, highly recommend following Cal's advice there. Just getting a feel for where they should be going, I think is the biggest obstacle there with these rookies.
And it'll vary widely depending on who's in your draft. The people that are in there. Scott nailed it. It's Ian Malcolm, Dr. Ian Malcolm.
His sons seem to be named after him. Yeah, I was trying to think of the actual guys. Jeff Goldblum.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That's it.
Did you name your sons that on purpose, like for that reason?
I
know it was on purpose. It wasn't like you like.
No, but it seems like it was
named your son. But
did you say farted and accidentally named your son?
Yeah, like I guess he's Ian now.
If my butt said Ian, I would be terrified.
I would
even more so if it said Malcolm.
If your butt said Ian and Malcolm, I would be terrified, but I would not be surprised.
Like if we were just sitting there and then all of a sudden we hear Malcolm.
What was that? Oh, I just farted.
Excuse me. Sorry about that.
Excuse me.
Now, what am I going to do?
Dave and Miss Leslie is growing these teams.
Oh,
Dr. Ian Malcolm.
Exactly.
And Dave really liked your pick, Josh.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you. Like I said, I don't really have a order for all three of these running backs, but they are a tier, these 3 rookie running backs. So I'm going to take the value at this point, not knowing where they're going to land.
Yeah. And JR in here saying Dak is a steal in the mid-second.
Hey, I agree. I agree. Why I'm not going to put him in a tier with those top quarterbacks, the top 6. I think he's the next one. My opinion. In my opinion.
I have a poll out to see who's drafted the best team so far, and it's dead even, 33%. All 3 of you.
Ooh.
Well, who would the tie? JL,
who's your favorite?
Oh no, I'm not doing that. Not falling into that trap. Sully's saying, "Where's Craig when there's a Jurassic question?" He's going to be so upset with himself when he finds out that we were talking Jurassic Park without him. AG asking, "What will the Falcons do at running back?"
Ooh, I don't know. Draft 3, sign 4, and then Jay Ajayi is inexplicably the starter. Like I'm not sure.
Jay Ajayi, Jordan Howard committee.
We thought we knew what was going to happen this year, and then it didn't. But man,
do we think it's likely that Cordell Patterson's back?
Yeah,
he fell
he's
off
a free agent.
At the end, but
that's what
why
I was
not?
going to say.
Yeah, why would you not want to bring him back if you're them? Like it worked pretty well. Even if you also bring somebody else in, I think that's I don't think with that front office they're going to be looking to spend early round draft capital. Maybe they do, but they came from the Saints organization. I just don't think they'll expend a lot of early round capital on a running back, but I wouldn't be surprised if they bring somebody in at some point and bring Patterson back.
I agree with you, but I am a little bit, I I think we saw at the end of the season maybe some wear affecting his durability during those games, that output there, because it was pretty consistent over the end of the season. Josh has a theory. Well, I'm a little bit worried, but maybe it's like a thing. I know Russell Wilson used to have the reputation for killer first half and then falls after the second half. Maybe with Patterson, we can kind of expect something like they're going to utilize him like that until they can't anymore. But Josh, I'm curious about your theory.
Daniel Jones I've just mentioned, but not the top half. Never mind.
I've mentioned it a couple of times, and I think Toronto Dave makes a great point in the chat. Atlanta can't compete, so no reason to bring CPAP back unless it's low cost. And while I do agree with that to an extent, I think they are going to try to bring him back. There was this, situation where the coaching staff came out and said, just 5 weeks before the end of the season, we got to limit his workload. We got to keep him, limited a little bit because they want to keep him healthy. And that's what they did. They didn't give him as many rushing attempts. He wasn't on the field quite as much. And that kind of just leads me to, why not use him if you plan on getting rid of him, right? Why not just, make yourself look better, right? So I think they will try to bring him back. But again, like you said, Dave, they can't pay the world for him. He's a 31, 32-year-old hybrid running back wide receiver.
I was gonna say I don't think he's gonna command enough money for it to really matter, and that's why I think he's back. I think it's going to be a low cost. He's running back. Running backs are not valued highly in the NFL. They're not. They're a lot cheaper than what we see in fantasy.
Does the NFC South look like it's not winnable right now?
Yeah, I
mean,
depends
if Kevin James comes to coach the Saints, then no one's gonna win. We're all going to lose.
3 years from now, Todd Gurley will be the same age as Cordell Patterson is right now.
I thought you say the same age as Kevin James, and I was like, wow, that is a fun fact.
No, that's why he wore down. That's why you don't see 30-year-old breakouts at running back, right? Because
well, you see the breakout, but then you also see the breakdown. Yeah, you get to see both.
The throw out, yeah.
Usually it's a little bit more spread out. It's a couple seasons separated, but we see them all at once there. Josh, you need me to pause it? Oh
no.
If I had to guess who you were going to draft based on the board, that's where I would have gone. I thought you were going to go Damian Harris, but
he's the starting running back for a team. I'll take him personally ahead of Rashad Penny and Tony Pollard, who went in the same round. So, yeah, I'm not saying he's way above those guys, but they're probably a tier. So
that was my thought process with Leonard Fournette as well. Hoping he maintains that starting role, and I'll take that guaranteed since he's my third running back, right?
I think it's great value for Leonard Fournette.
Now the Dawson Knox pick, I think I'm going to reach a little bit.
I like Leonard Fournette, but I liked him a lot more when there was the possibility of him re-signing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Tom Brady. I'm not saying it kills his value. He proved a lot to me last year. But
it definitely changes it, right? That's not the same offense without Tom Brady.
Yeah. So we'll see where he lands anyway. He's a free agent himself.
Scott Fish saying, I like JL's team. Thank you.
JL, it's better than most
team.
It's better than most of your teams.
Yeah, better than all of them, I'd say. And Dave asking which team is
your DM, JL. That's what I want to know. Does he like it enough to respond to your DMs? That's what I want to know.
That is the question. That is the question. Yeah, send me a text back, Scott. Then Dave saying, which team's JL's? I can't see. It's right there. Just look a little closer. It's right in between the two teams.
Oh, yeah, the two. Right in between the two.
Yeah.
Those two teams. Yeah.
Those two teams. And Swampman here saying, at work and cry. We cry too. Work has been busy.
But you still find a way to get into these mocks.
Yeah, you still find a way. And you say you work all the time, but I haven't gotten a single Jimmy John sub from you. So
right?
Are you really
I know
working,
it doesn't take a year to ride a bike from New Orleans to San Antonio. I'm almost positive of it.
Yeah, quit being lazy, Swamp.
Oh man, one time I had Uber Eats driver show up on a bike like dripping sweat and like out of breath, and I have never felt so guilty for ordering food in my. I don't know why. Just having them knock on the door with their helmet on, like covered in sweat, I was like, no, I could have just gone and picked it up. I'm so sorry.
I have a car and everything.
Like, yeah, exactly.
There's no reason.
Like, no, I ordered this under the assumption that you also had a car. Like, not that you would be bicycling this to me.
And Brady saying, Brady had a good question for us. Would you rather have Claypool or Bateman in Dynasty? I feel like this has come up in a few poll perception competitions lately. Let's see, Josh, you're almost up, so I'll go to Cal. You just went. So, Cal, would you rather have Claypool or Bateman in Dynasty?
Claypool for me, and I'm actually I was the low guy on Claypool last year, but I think I might end up being kind of the high guy on him this year.
High guy.
I think what we saw from him this year was inconsistent, and people were disappointed based on where they drafted him, but I don't think it was necessarily that bad. And I think he's probably most likely going to get a quarterback upgrade over the course of this offseason. Almost anything is going to be better than what Ben Roethlisberger was able to do in terms of what matching it up with his skill set. And Rashad Bateman, who I like his talent, I like all those things, but really the emergence of the way Mark Andrews, sort of took that next step, and Marquise Brown, legitimately had a very good season, was a target hog when he was there. So I just don't know how much more room there's going to be for Bateman to carve out a role that's going to be anything close to what I think Chase's upside is.
I think that's fair. I would rather have Bateman. I think the draft capital definitely is an aspect of this. I do believe in Bateman's talent. I mean, both these guys are really talented guys. And I believe in Lamar's ability to improve. I mean, we saw an uptick in his passing this past season. It's still low. It's still low compared to other NFL franchises. It wasn't like that. It was a complete 180. But I like to see that they said they were going to go focus on the receiving options and passing more, and that's what they did. And so I'm hopeful that Rashad Bateman does carve out a role, and I'm worried about Chase Claypool's quarterback situation. It's not our offensive situation, but quarterback specifically.
Worst day of my life right here. There were 3 wide receivers I was targeting, Lockett most of all, but I was like, well, I'll get one of Lockett, Beckham, Robinson on the way back.
You didn't.
Nope, I didn't.
You did not.
So
you did not.
There's other wide receivers though.
Yeah.
She goes 0 wide receiver.
I'm tilting. This pick is about to be
I wish I knew where some of these rookies were going to land.
Mm-hmm. In the NFL.
And Stefan, or
that's what I meant.
Stefan or Stefan, tell me which one I'm pronouncing correctly or incorrectly, so I don't keep making the mistake. Stefan says, I always have to choose between Bateman and Claypool in every startup. I think their values are very close. If I remember from all the poll perception games that we had with these 2 players. I believe they're very similarly valued according to the consensus.
I just cheated. I cheated because I accidentally had the wrong player queued, but we're good.
So Josh went Amon-Ra St. Brown over both of them. Curious what your thought was there.
On that pick, I was down to my last second and I made a pick really fast. No. When it comes down to it, let's see. I actually Amon-Ra St. Brown. Where is he in my rankings? Okay, so I have Rashad Bateman ranked ahead of Amon-Ra St. Brown in my rankings.
That's a homer pick.
And Chase Claypool. But I saw Amon-Ra St. Brown. He was sitting there on the rankings for Sleeper, and he was staring me right in the face when I was making my picks.
And you know what? Sometimes I don't draft strictly by my rankings. There's different players like Mike Williams. I currently have ahead of Amon-Ra St. Brown and Darnell Mooney in my rankings. And from a total fantasy points perspective, maybe that's correct. But from a consistency profile, depending on the receivers I drafted previously, I may prefer a Darnell Mooney on my team instead of a Mike Williams, even though I have him 2 spots below Mike Williams. But just because your rankings are a certain way doesn't mean you have to draft strictly based on your rankings. You have to take into account the type of player, especially consistency profiles in my eyes.
Yeah, it's huge aspect of how I value players. Stefan's like, get those likes up, boys. Thank you, Stefan. Okay. Our guy. What? Why are you pointing up?
I was getting my likes up. Yeah, those are my likes.
Did you call your fingers? Scott saying he's lying to me, saying he sent me 4 texts.
I believe
I have 0 texts from you.
It was to your burner phone, JL. Your Scott Fish burner phone. Remember you gave him a different phone number. That way he couldn't blow up your regular phone.
Yeah, he's always calling me. Maria's saying Scott-ish. Damn, I thought you were full Scott. I feel misled. We've all been misled. He's not full Scott.
Specifically by Scott.
He's half Ian Malcolm.
I think it was a great turn right there with Tony and Sutton. I think those are 2 really good in the 10th and 11th round to get those 2 guys. I think that's really good.
So I like Gary's team. I'm a big fan of that team.
Kadarius Toney is you bring up Kadarius Toney. I think it's very serendipitous here because Fagey's saying the New York Giants are expected to move on from Saquon Barkley and James Bradberry. And I saw earlier this morning that they were included in that rumor. and maybe I don't know if this is confirmed yet or not, but when this was a rumor this morning, Kadarius Toney was included in this list of three players. And so how do you guys feel about that? This move in general, Saquon Barkley, if they move on from Saquon Barkley or Kadarius Toney? What do you think, Simon?
Can they land in a less friendly situation than the one they were in last year? I mean, I guess technically, right? But is a team in a shitty situation going to pay up for a back like Saquon Barkley? Probably not, right? Like, that's not the piece that you add to fix your shitty team. That's the missing piece that you plug into a team that's ready to compete. So for Saquon specifically, this is great news for me. I'm excited that he's going to get off the Giants. Now, Kadarius Toney, I don't know. I guess you could upgrade at the quarterback position, but is he going to step into a receiving core that's as friendly to him getting targets? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it feels like whenever the Giants drafted Saquon Barkley, it was like they couldn't decide whether they were going to go full rebuild or not. And so they did like the dreaded, like the worst thing that you could do is they half rebuilt, half didn't, and it clearly didn't work. I think this is great for both teams. I think, there's no sense in if this does happen, if Saquon Barkley is traded, why renew his contract when you have so many other holes in your offense that this player is not going to is not going to help you. It's not going to help you. So how you feel about it, Cal?
My dynasty teams have been ready to move on from Saquon for a good bit now. He's just consistently underperformed, and there's a lot of times where I'll be watching Giants games and I'm like, man, look at that, Saquon is back. And I'm like, oh crap, that was Devontae Booker.
And he changed his name and number and face. What?
Yeah, I still feel like Saquon Barkley is like this will be great for his value. So if you have Saquon Barkley, I think this is a ideal situation.
And Jay said Barkley to Buffalo. Who says no? I say no. Yes. That would be awesome. I would love that. That would be great. And Jay said tear down the Giants. That's coming from a Giants fan. He wants them to tear it to the ground, burn it down. Hey, JL, do you like my I drafted a rookie. Do you like my rookie pick?
Oh, let me see. John Ross.
No. John Ross isn't a rookie.
I just saw Jay Ross and I was like, oh.
Justin Ross.
Just Wayne.
I love that pick. I can't see it. All I see is the first letter, so I don't know who it is.
Well,
Justin Ross.
One J. Ross wide receiver that's a rookie this year, I believe, that's up there and that's probably going to be drafted. There may be another J. Ross somewhere in college, but I don't think
I love that pick. I love that pick. I think Justin Ross is going to be very talented, be very successful in the NFL. I hope so.
That injury made a lot of people forget about him. And it was a scary one, like a terrifying injury, or medical issue, but he's looks like he's going to be okay, ready to go. And I think maybe some people are forgetting how talented he was. And then it may be a bit of a homer pick with the Clemson guy, but I always say with that as well, it may be some homer bias, but at the same time, I've probably watched more Justin Ross tape or plays or games than 99% of people, right? I've seen every single snap he's played in college, not just the highlights on YouTube, because I'm a Clemson fan. So I'll be harder on the Clemson guys that underperform, but then also it's more fun to play with players that you like, right?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'll definitely be trying to draft. Is this where you'd actually take them in a startup? Or did you just do it for a talking point?
No, I think around this range. I was looking at the other wide receivers and none of them were like super exciting to me, right? I was like, do I want Rondale Moore? Or do I want Justin Ross? Like, that's kind of the debate I'm having. And I think those are close enough in value that you can take the unknown with Justin Ross instead of like this tier of wide receiver.
Yeah.
Like Michael Gallup, Justin Ross. Like, know what I mean? Like, I think this is an appropriate range to take him. Cal, do you think that was a reach, or is this a range where you'd be comfortable taking a guy like that?
So I have, there's the amount of homework that I've done on the rookie class has been minimal because we actually have a project that's coming up. So I'm actually sort of saving myself a little bit for some very specific videos that are coming out. That will be
saving yourself for videos.
Time. Yeah. Reaction stuff. But you know, my biggest question on him obviously is going to be the health. And I think that's, you know, depending on what that looks like and how, you know, I want to know how much of an outlier he needs to be to have success based on this injury. And that might determine, you know, how interested I am in Dynasty.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
but I will
kind of
more. And that's, I know a lot of people aren't like super high on Rondale Moore right now, but I think he's going too late. And he's just such an interesting, fascinating player to me because like his average yards per catch was something like 7 yards or something like that, which is like that would be a good running back. But like for a wide receiver to have 7 yards per catch is like so low. And curious to see, he was used sort of similar to that way in college. I'm just curious to see how he's utilized if AJ Green's not there, if Christian Kirk moves on in free agency. Curious to see if the improvement in this situation would help, even though I'm actually sort of philosophically opposed to making decisions based on that, but I just like Rondale Moore a lot.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. I'm not out on Rondale Moore. That wasn't supposed to be an indictment on him. I think he's a player, especially in this range. Like, how many players in this range have that kind of upside that Rondale Moore has? Those exciting flashes that we've seen out on the field. There's not many guys on the board right now where I look at him and I get as excited as I do about Rondale Moore.
Z2 saying, still don't enjoy my team. I just find this comment funny. Like, he's sitting there waiting for it to grow on him. He's like, nope, it's just not it.
Isn't that the worst feeling when you leave a draft though and you like don't love your team?
This isn't as bad as I think, right? And then like two or three rounds later, you're like, oh god.
But you know what I find with such consistency? The teams that I hate when I leave the draft usually end up being the ones that perform the best. And then the teams where I leave the draft, like, no one's beaten me this year. I'll get like 3 wins in the league the whole season. Last place, miss the playoffs.
Yeah, that's how it goes. Jay Wall saying he feels like he soaked up some good QB value after waiting so long. Yeah,
I think you did.
I think I like this strategy if you're going to be able to like, my priority move in this first season as like a dynasty startup league would be try and shore up a like high value your number 1 quarterback. These guys are great. I think stopgaps. They're like the epitome of average in my opinion, or like slightly above average, but they're not going to give you an edge in any way. So I think they're a perfect bridge to then go get your future guy and take the value early on in this draft that not taking a quarterback allowed you to do.
But with the build of his team, like, this looks like a team that can compete year one, depending on where Godwin lands. Akers, Swift, like if Akers is back, ready to go. Kyle Pitts, if he takes that next step, like there's some question marks here, but the wide receivers are studs. And maybe you got some values on them because they're a little bit older. I'm happy with the running backs. Then Tannehill and Cousins, they're both capable of putting out QB1 seasons. We saw Cousins do it this year. We've seen Tannehill do it a couple times. Not QB number 1 overall, but top 12 QB seasons. You throw 2 of those guys in, maybe play the matchups with Baker. Like, I'm fine with it. I think you got great value, and the plan worked out. You built up other positions and still got the value at QB. Now, like, don't get me wrong. I'll take Rodgers and Tua over Tannehill and Cousins, but he's got upgrades at other positions that I don't.
Yep. Well, we did it.
We did it.
Is that the end of the draft? Oh, we still got 2 more picks left.
Well, let's wrap it up.
Down to 1.
Yeah, we can go ahead and Gary. We'll see who Gary takes last. But Cal, while we're waiting on that last pick, I wanted to thank you so much for coming on and drafting with us today. Guys, if you are not already following our guest Cal, if you didn't listen at the beginning or if you just joined us halfway through, go and follow him right now. You can find him on Twitter at Calvin and Hobby. It's right there below his handsome face in front of the hand burned wooden background. It is not a green screen. It's 100% real. Cal, thank you so much for coming on with us today, my man.
Handmade, actually. Yeah. You want to order yours? Go ahead to my website. I appreciate it. I would love it if anybody wants to check out something. If you're interested in Dynasty or you're just getting into Dynasty, go check out dynastyleaguefootball.com. Addison produces a ton of great content on the YouTube channel. And I have a Tuesday night show with Tyler Karp where we answer live questions for an hour and a half, and it's fun. And then like my series, I'm so excited on Saturdays, just releasing where we're trying to separate fact from fiction in Dynasty fantasy football. And so check that out.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
I love that.
He's not kidding whenever he says they put out awesome content over there at DLF. And then the Ask DLF show that you do with Tyler, I think you two, like when I think of like the most helpful people in the space, both your names immediately come to mind. And then the 2 of you on one show, that's awesome. You guys are always helping people in the community on Twitter. So it's cool that you guys have a live show doing that as well. Stefan in here saying, do you guys do draft grades? Yeah, we will about this one in particular. We will have a mock draft review for this draft coming out this week. So make sure you guys keep your eyes peeled for that. We'll go through some of our favorite teams, least favorite teams. And then outside of that, if you want us to grade a team that you drafted, feel free to bring it in during the stream or drop it in our Discord or DM us on Twitter, and we'll gladly give you a draft grade. But if you bring it in on stream, we're here every day, Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So if you come in during that show, in between rounds of games, we'll gladly grade your draft for you. We have fun answering questions and seeing your teams. Guys, I think that's going to be it for us today. Thank you to everyone who drafted along with us. And thank you again, Cal, for coming on and drafting with us today. This was a ton of fun. My team was the best, besides Cal's, of course. We will be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern time for some more fantasy football game show fun. So make sure to tune in then. Until tomorrow, though, adios, everybody.
Trading makes fantasy fun. Love you guys. Let's go.